So a little delayed due to schedules, but hopefully everyone has had a chance to try a smaller mouse for 3 weeks. If you still want to do it, I'll leave a link to the video in the description that'll explain it. This video is just to check the results and talk about some of the things we learned. I'm going to be checking in with Kyle from Too Much Tech, but of course leave your experience below, we'd love to hear it. Okay Kyle, welcome back. And overall, how did the small mouse challenge go?
Oh, thanks for having me, of course. Overall, I would say it was a pretty fun experiment. I definitely learned a little bit more about what is most comfortable for me and most consistent when it comes to my claw grip aiming style. But I will say, we did have some pretty interesting finds, especially when getting back into using other mice, and I can kind of pick them apart a little bit better than I could before and see where one mouse was helping me and also hurting me in a different area.
Yeah, nice. And as a reminder, what was your main mouse before?
My main mouse before was the Ninjutsu Sora. That's what I've been using more or less for about the past 5 or so months since I got it. And it's been pretty hard for me to put down to do this challenge, to say the least.
Yeah, fair. And what did you change to? So what mouse did you use for the challenge?
So predominantly, for the most part, about 2.5, 3-ish weeks straight, we used the Xtrfy M42 with the taller back hump. I actually cannot find the lower hump, so I didn't put that one to the test, but I decided to use the taller back hump since that's all I had available to me, and also since quite a while ago, that's what I was using when I came to my conclusions in my review about 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago when this mouse came out.
Yeah, fair enough. So it was a smaller mouse. Did you get any cramps or discomfort?
So I did not experience any cramps or discomfort with the M42, other than the fact that I feel like my wrist is just a little bit too high while having that higher button height at the front of the mouse. I think it was just a little bit higher than what I'm used to with the likes of the Sora and some of the other smaller mice that I've been using recently, like the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. I know I've been using a lot of smaller, lesser known brands mice, but I feel like that segment is just a little bit more caring toward, I think, what people may have been looking for over the past couple of years.
Alright, and performance in game, M42, how did it go?
So I find that my performance in game with the M42 is very inconsistent. There's some games I have a really good game. Sometimes it's like I might as well just be throwing it against the wall, because it just seems like I can be a little all over the place with the M42 wireless.
Interesting. And why do you think that might be?
I do think it is due to having the high back as well as having that high front button height. Everything else about the mouse, it feels okay. I don't think it needs to be any narrower as far as the grip, but I do believe that the back could definitely be a little bit more, maybe flared out a bit more for the back. But basically, long story short, the more I use the M42, the more uncomfortable I feel with the mouse, as I feel like my performance is too erratic with the mouse and I cannot get as consistent of results as I would like to.
So the shape of the mouse seems to be causing you some discomfort, something about your grip is not gelling well with it, and that's causing some inconsistency and awkwardness, and that's why you're finding you want to use it, you want to play well with it, but you just can't because there's something off-putting your grip.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, right. So we just did the tests. We did 3 games with each mouse, 2 in a row for each, and then 1 final one. The M42 results were 58%, 64%, and 69%. Nice. And the Sora had the 65%, 62%, 61%. That gives averages of 63.66% on the M42 and 62.66% on Sora. That's only 1% difference, but I feel like that first game with the M42 could have been higher. Maybe it was just nerves getting into it, but I'd say the M42 looks like it could have higher aim stats for you, but the Sora is more consistent.
I would say that maybe because the Sora is a little bit lighter and a little easier for me to throw around while having that lower button height, and I have a bit more locked in grip that feels like it's a bit more secure in the back of my palm as opposed to the M42. I think that is possibly leading to the better and more consistent results.
And this is why we say shape is king, right?
Absolutely. Having a locked in grip, I think that can really mean the world when it comes to having the most consistent gameplay.
For sure, and the other thing I want to bring up here is that you want to find a balance of features. And this is something that Kyle and I were talking about recently. where you can get, say, the best shape in the world, but if it's 200 grams, you're not going to aim your best. And on the flip side, you can get a mouse that's 40 grams, but if it's not the right shape for you, it's still not going to be the best for you either. So you got to find the balance point. What can you get in the best shape for you, best weight for you, best button height, best sensor, best wireless, whatever it might be. All these factors combine to help you find the right mouse for you, but you'll never get perfect. There's always going to be trade-offs. So it's about narrowing down the features that you want, hopefully on the one mouse, and then choosing the one that's going to have the least important trade-off. So if you don't mind a bit of extra weight, so you can get a better shape or wireless, that's the one you pick.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right to me.
So accuracy stats don't tell the whole story. More importantly, how did you feel while aiming in those games? And just to reiterate, which mouse felt more consistent and which mouse felt like it had the most potential?
So I would say that I felt the most consistent with the Sora, of course, just having that locked in feel. And I think that inspired the most confidence when using this mouse. The M42, I feel like there was a higher ceiling, but also a lower floor at the same time. Again, because my results were all over the place. And even in game, like my actual in-game experience when I'm not playing Quake, but I'm playing something that I actually can measure my skill at and, record gameplay and go back and review and whatnot. The M42, I definitely feel like I was having a lot more sporadic performance, where when I use the Sora, I'm a lot less often blaming my deaths on, is this potentially something wrong with the hardware that I'm using, as opposed to how I'm feeling in game, and am I just having a bad game, or is this due to an external factor that should lead me to make a physical change rather than mentally making a change while playing the game?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So where do you think you will go in the future with your mouse choice?
I think for now, I'm probably going to stick with the Ninjutsu Sora for the most part. I've really been enjoying using this mouse over the past about 5 months or so that I've had it. The only other mouse that I've gotten in recently that has kind of given me the vibe that I may want to entertain switching to it, it's called the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. But after the past 2 days of using it and switching back to the Sora, I do feel a little bit more confident with the Sora. And I think that's due to the back being slightly wider and having a slightly wider grip width as well. But I'm curious to see if the Lamzu Atlantis with this bit skinnier grip width will give me a little bit better results in the long term when it comes to aiming. So I think I'm going to put that mouse to the ultimate test as well and see if it improves my consistency compared to the Sora.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Look forward to seeing those results and seeing what you do in the future. Big thanks for stopping by and actually taking the challenge. It's been awesome chatting and great to get your thoughts.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Zai. I appreciate you inviting me to take this challenge and actually getting some quantifiable results that I can, analyze from mouse to mouse and over time.
All right. And final thoughts. What would you advise people after this challenge?
After this challenge, I definitely say, you should look at the mice in your collection if you have a gaming mouse collection, and try to use them for long periods of time and see what you can quantify. But also, outside of quantifying the differences in your performance, see where, like as you grip the mouse, what areas of your hand each mouse is supporting, and see what matters most to you during gameplay when you have the most consistent results.
Good advice there. So the journey continues for Kyle and many of us. I'm looking forward to seeing just how thin a grip width he can go, because I do think that's going to be a key factor for his balance of features. And just a note for context, he was saying that the Xtrfy M42 button height is higher than the Sora, which is true for where he grips the mouse, but with the actual measurements, the M42 has a lower button height. As he said, with the high back on the M42, he's holding it a bit further back, and therefore his fingers are higher up on the slope, which would make the button height feel higher. And also, as he said, that's why he was saying to pay attention to where you grip mice, and how your hand is connecting with the points. Now, as a bonus, after hanging out in Bulletell's stream, he's an Australian Apex pro, go check out what he does. Nat was talking about struggling with aim. Her hand size and grip were pretty similar to mine, so I got an Xtrfy MZ1 sent out to her, thanks to Xtrfy, and I'll let her tell you the rest. Okay, Nat, first, hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, we don't need to go too in-depth here, but how's your aim feeling these days? Better or worse with the smaller, lighter mouse?
It definitely feels much better. Feels like I have improved immensely since I got the lighter mouse.
Cool. And comfort-wise, is your hand cramping at all?
Not at all. I actually expected it to kind of feel weird when I first got the new mouse, but it felt extremely comfortable, and I'm very happy with it. Yeah, didn't have
That's
any
actually
problems.
amazing. Most people's hands will actually cramp, so good to hear it didn't. You might be in the minority there, but cool. And okay, so you only had the G502 back then, and you got 43% accuracy. You then got an MZ1, and you've been playing on that since. We did a bunch of testing. After a fair few games, we found that you needed a lower sensitivity. And then with the G502, you managed to hit 68%. Huge improvement since first beginning, but of course you're learning how to play Quake now, so that's pretty cool. But on the MZ1, you managed to get 76%. Of course, percentages don't matter too much, but overall, how are you feeling with the G502 after using the MZ1 so long?
I could not imagine going back to a mouse like that, to be completely honest. I do not know how I did use it back then, but the MZ1 just feels so much more comfortable. Honestly, the 502 feels very slow. It's very heavy. It just kind of took the fun and the comfort out of the gaming experience for me. Yeah.
This almost sounds like an advert for the MZ1, but it's just facts, right? You're going from a big heavy mouse with a shape. Look, it's not a bad shape for comfort, but I wouldn't say it's a good aiming shape. So I agree there, and that's why I designed the MZ1 the way it is, because I wanted a shape that would help aim. So lower button height, thinner grip width, high back if you're using the high back will help with palm support, low back if you want something a bit different, more for fingertip. I mean, yeah, and wireless, no cable. I think the G502 you have would have a pretty bad cable, is that right?
Yes. First of all, it's extremely long, so it's kind of awkward to store away in a smart way. And yeah, the wireless mouse experience is just completely different. It just makes me feel free when I play. The 502 made me feel very limited to where I could move my mouse, and just made the experience kind of bad.
Yeah, 100%. Wireless is freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always joke that Logitech was so bad at cables, they decided to master wireless.
Yeah.
It's the only explanation. They
Yeah,
could not get cables
very
right.
awkward to use.
Yeah, every mouse they've released, I've never had a good Logitech cable. And you were telling me that you've just started PC gaming, and the G502 was your first mouse. What made you choose that one?
I obviously did a lot of research before I bought this mouse. Since I was new to gaming, I kind of didn't just want to buy the first thing that I saw. I wanted to make sure that it would be a good purchase. So I went onto multiple gaming websites, and they all recommended this one specific mouse. So obviously, because I was new to gaming, I thought, okay, so if 10, 20 websites recommend the same exact mouse and everyone's saying, okay, this is the best mouse for gaming, it obviously should be really good. So I kind of trusted those reviews, and I bought the mouse. And I mean, because it was my first gaming mouse, I didn't think it was bad. But ever since I got the new MZ1, it just showed me how bad of a purchase that actually was, which made me kind of sad, because I think a lot of people just rely on those reviews, and it's sad to see that they're not as accurate as they maybe should be.
This is like the greatest advert for my channel and the MZ1 ever. So glad I'm doing this interview.
Well, I'm glad that, now I can finally game the way I want to game with the new MZ1.
Oh yeah, that's important too.
Just noticed that none of the websites really talk about mouse sizes. No one really touches that subject. It's all just like, oh yeah, this mouse performs really well, this mouse, this and that. No one talks about how important the size of the mouse actually is when it comes to a good gaming experience and just your aim being better and everything.
So now that you've used this new mouse, what are you going to look for when choosing a mouse in the future?
Definitely the weight and the size of it matter to me now. Now that I'm more educated about it, I definitely would always go for a mouse that is lighter and smaller, because it just feels so much better when I game, and I would never ever go back to a big heavy mouse like the 502 that I had before.
Alright, well, good to hear. Glad to see what you've been able to achieve, and look forward to more results in the future. And of course, big thank you for actually taking the test.
No, thank you for sending me this mouse. It actually changed my whole gaming experience and I could not be happier, so I'm extremely thankful for that.
And if people want to follow your progress, where can they go?
So people can find me on Twitch under the name InaNathalie, and they can also follow me on Twitter and on TikTok.
Alright, I'll put the links in the description. Thanks again, we'll see you another time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I didn't get Kyle to try the MZ1 because I didn't think it would suit his hand. Everyone is going to be different, but as said, Nat's hand size and grip style were very similar to mine, so it was a pretty safe bet. I definitely noticed her being more consistent with the MZ1 and hitting higher scores, but she also did pretty well on the G502. The thing is, as competitive players, we're looking to refine our choices and reach our potential. That's what it's all about. It's trying to find what's going to work best so you can play at your best. And yeah, Quake Instagib is a decent test. It's not really challenging you like a 1v1 battle in something like Clan Arena. That's in Quake Live, of course. Doing well in that mode is extremely reliant on your aim, and you won't really understand being pushed until you go up against a high level player. Someone that is constantly shooting at you and not just giving you easy shots. So you not only have to dodge, but you also have to hit your shots under a lot of pressure. That's how you're going to really know which mouse works for you, when you're being challenged the most. Add to that, if you're going to go pro, you're definitely going to need the best equipment, because obviously when facing up against the best, you want to be at your best. You can't be held back by say a cable, bad sensor, heavy mouse, whatever. Now for those new around here, so you know that Nat isn't biased, or saying what she thinks I want to hear, I jumped onto the stream of CSGO legend f0rest, and this is how I was greeted.
You do hey, thank you for gifting us a wonderful, wonderful mouse, my man. It is a beauty, and you know what the hell you're talking about. That's for sure, man. First, it was like love at first sight, man. And I understand, like, I can see why it takes a while to get used to. But once it does, oh boy, does it click. So good shit, and congrats, dude. And I even use your mouse pad. I'm not fanboying, you're fanboying.
Can't really get a better advert for the MZ1 than that. Big shout out to f0rest for trying my mouse and pad. You're awesome. And it's amazing that we have similar preferences. And there's a key word, preferences. To the people who think that a heavier and bigger mouse works better for them, I mean, I would debate that, but as always, you have to find what's right for you. As Kyle said, give these mice a good try, just as is challenged 3 weeks per mouse, learn all you can from them, then try to choose a better mouse. That's why I asked what mouse they'll choose in the future. I don't expect Kyle or Nat to stick with those mice, because this is a learning experience. They're learning and growing, as we all are. Perfection is impossible, that is why the journey is infinite. So I hope everyone had fun trying new mice. Please leave your experience below. Again, big thanks to Kyle, Nat and f0rest. I'll leave all their links in the description, as well as the usuals. Sub, like and share. Catch ya.